Hello, my name is Lauren Sauceda, and I am doing my research project on marine protected areas. And the purpose of this project is to inform others about the conservation efforts of designated areas of the oceans, which is another word for marine protected areas. And during my research, I linked most of my work to just one treaty. Here it's the High Seas Treaty, and it really just goes in depth on more than marine protected areas, but this is the first time that marine protected areas have been specifically codified into treaty and international law. And one of the sources that I like to look at was to keep updated on states that had ratified the treaty. And this website by the UN monitors that and says which states have ratified the treaty, which for the treaty to pass, it needs 60, I believe, ratifications, and then it needs 120 days for it to fully go through the process, and then it will be in force. And as of this moment, only 4 states have ratified it. And next to the treaties is the global framework. And this is by itself, mostly because it was nothing to compare it to. It was vital to both where the IGOs got their resources and information from, and also where the treaty. This is what it was based off of, was the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And looking on the website, reading through everything, it's more than just marine protected areas. It is full sustainability and conservation of the ocean and its ecosystem. And marine protected areas just barely scratches the surface. And it was truly vital too. It connected to almost every single other resource I have on here. And my IGOs, the first one is the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, which I found was very interesting because it was one of the IGOs that had the most member states, because one of the ones I looked at was specifically for the North Pacific, which only included member states affected by North Pacific conservation. And there was also the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. And it's just a website purely to keep people informed and up to date on the most recent information on ocean conservation while including marine protected areas. And the International Council for the Exploration of the Seas was also a resource used by the treaties and even other IGOs, because they were purely an educational IGO of gathering research and informing the government what was happening within the ocean. And some of the data I found is from the Protected Planet, and a lot of the number data that I looked at came from this source. So it felt imperative to include it because it showed the difference between national waters and also international waters, which I found very useful in my head to distinguish between. And also, World Bank includes territorial waters as a map to see how many states, the percentage of territorial waters they have that are marine protected areas, which is also easier to conceptualize than purely just reading numbers. And an article that I included, the only one, was by Geographical Magazine, because it included only the top 10 largest marine protected areas. But the way they showed the pictures of what they looked like, where they are on maps, and how big they are, was also easy for me to understand and be able to picture in my head. Like, yes, the Ross Sea in Antarctica, which is the largest marine protected area, is just easier to imagine what a marine protected area is when you see a picture of it and the life around it. And my analysis after learning everything is that it's just not enough. This is not enough information to cover everything, but I know that the amount of intergovernmental organizations that are working to push treaties or push law into action is monumental, and the ones that I have looked into are very effective in what they do and the resources and research they supply to not only the public, but to also the government. And I also noticed that international law, it took a long time for this specific global challenge, marine protected areas, to be codified into treaty as the Law of the Sea Treaty. One of the first ones was done in 1982, and then the High Seas Treaty was written in 2023. So that's a pretty big gap. And I also know how important IGOs are in making this happen, making this push be a reality. And the data that they collect, the way they present it is so easy to digest and understand, even if you're not researching or in this particular field of work. It's just easy with the way it is displayed, the way everything is done on their websites. It is for convenience and ease of use. And one thing I took away from this that I hope others do as well is it may seem hard to have a direct impact on a marine protected area because people are usually not allowed to there. It's very limited activity, but I know that any effort of conservation or sustainability not only helps marine protected areas, but it just helps the ocean as a whole instead of looking at it as one separate thing. And that is all. Thank you.